What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Average Joe Strongman Show, episode number 12. Hard to believe we're 12 episodes in already. It's been a great ride so far. We had some great people on our last week's podcast. Show was awesome with Matt Sefton. If you can get a chance to check that out, go on my feed. Actually, I need to upload that to YouTube. I'm a few behind, but yeah, it was a great show last week. So, my normal disclaimer, the views, opinions, information expressed in this series is solely those of the individuals, myself, anybody who I bring on, companies that talk about, anybody that's involved, and does not represent those of River City Barbell or any of the companies that we talk about. So, blah, 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 blah. There's my disclaimer. And I'm not politically correct. I occasionally use foul language, so if that offends you, then stop watching. Hi, Lisa. So I want to go through real quick the upcoming events. Just a couple. This Saturday, Static Monsters, Chris Vaccio. It's his big show up, Beyond Limits in Reynoldsburg. And on the 10th of November is BJ Barabbas having his next show, Kentucky Stuffing and Strongman Contest at Genesis Strength and Fitness in Paducah. If you get a chance, go check that one out. And then, of course, on the 15th of December, Hope for the Holidays 12. That's Willie's big record breaker show down in Heights, Missouri. So if you got a record you're looking to break, get down there and jump all over that. And then finally on the 5th of January, first Saturday in January, it's the River City Barbell Classic. Be the first annual. That's also a fundraiser for 22kill.com. A portion of the proceeds will be going to that organization. Jacob Schick, he's the owner and operator of 22kill.com, and he does great things for veterans in need and trying to do something positive with the 22 brothers and sisters that we lose every day to veteran suicide. So that's coming up on the 5th of January. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to read you an article, so bear with me. So from the moment it was introduced by Nike back in 1988, I've always appreciated this. This is not my article. This is from our special guest we're having tonight, so bear with me. From the moment it was introduced by Nike back in 1988, I've always appreciated the simplicity and power of the Just Do It slogan. Everybody's heard the Just Do It slogan. At that time, I was a sophomore in college and I was playing football for DePaul University. I was raised with discipline at home. Growing up as a young athlete, my coaches always imposed discipline on my teammates and I in the gym, in the weight room, and on the field. I've relied on that discipline personally as I continued my athletic pursuits after college in the sports of triathlon and now strongman. And in my career as a marketing communications professional, I think my understanding and appreciation for discipline is why Just Do It has always resonated with me. I just finished reading the book by retired U.S. Navy SEAL officer Jocko Willink called Discipline Equals Freedom, a field manual, which is derived into two parts, thoughts and actions. At 208 pages, it's a pretty quick read. The first 90 pages of part one, thoughts, were the most impactful in my opinion. According to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, discipline is defined as an orderly or prescribed conduct or pattern of behavior or self-control. Motivation is defined as a motivating force, stimulus, or influence or incentive. So that's key, remember that. In order to be successful, you need both. But I believe that discipline is more important than motivation, which is why Jocko's book struck such a chord with me. This isn't to say that motivation is not important, it is. It actually comes first, in my opinion, before discipline. I just feel strongly that discipline is a more significant factor for personal or professional success than motivation. As I was reading the book, there were several points made by Jocko Willink that reminded me of Nike's Just Do It slogan, and I'll explain. I'm a morning person, but this has not always been the case. Just ask my parents. In high school and college, I could sleep till noon during the off season, of course, and when I wasn't playing a sport. But now, sleeping in for me means waking up at 6 a.m. instead of 4 a.m. Yes, you read that right. I get up at 4 a.m. every day. Why? So I can feed the dog, feed myself, and then get to the gym by 5 a.m. I train for 90 minutes and then get to work, get home so I can eat again, walk the dog, shower, and take care of my daughter after my wife leaves for work. Then I take my daughter to school and then go to work. Whenever I share this with someone, most people hear it and ask me one of three questions. Are you crazy? What time do you go to bed? And how do you do it? I'm not crazy, and I go to bed between 8:30 and 9 o'clock every night, even on weekends. In order to get the sleep I need to recover and rest for the next day's training and everything else that comes after it. I want to focus on the third question, how you do it. I'll tell you exactly how. Before I go to bed, I set my alarm for 4 a.m., then I go to sleep. When the alarm goes off the next morning, I get up. I don't hit snooze. I turn it off and I get up. I just do it. See what I did there? There's no magic to this, no secret formula. There's nothing complicated about it. It's simple. It's all about will. It's about being determined to do something. You have to just do it, but in order to just do it, you must have discipline, and that's why I believe Nike got it right so many years ago. Many runners, swimmers, cyclists, or other athletes, regardless of sport, understood this idea back then and still understand it now. How many of them were already waking up in the pre-dawn hours to train when Nike introduced this slogan? Nike did a really good job of tapping into the psyche of athletes who have the discipline with the Just Do It slogan. They knew what it meant, and they still do. Nike understood that discipline is simple, it's powerful, and it's the reason why so many amateur and professional athletes have enjoyed their success over the years. They're more than just motivated. They understand that in order to be successful, they need to exercise discipline to practice, to train, and to compete, to just do it. Jocko Willink discusses how so many people today are looking for shortcuts, the hacks that will allow them to be successful without having to work as long or hard. I'll let you in on one of the big reveals of the book that shouldn't come as a surprise. There are none. You must have discipline in order to be successful. Some of you may read this and think to yourself, this is a lot easier said than done. And you know what? You're absolutely right, it is. Discipline is hard. It's unforgiving. It takes work, hard work. But it's there if you want it. So you need to ask yourself, how bad do you want it? Discipline comes from within you, plain and simple. You need to find it in yourself. Can it be imposed on you by a parent, a coach, or an instructor? Yes, of course it can. But that external discipline will never be as strong as the internal discipline that comes from within you. But the first step is you must choose to be disciplined. Just do it. So that article is from our special guest tonight, who was actually my first guest on one of my first podcasts. His name is Mr. Mike Lohman. He's a Masters Strongman competitor. He's actually one of my best friends. Mike, he's helped me through some of the most difficult times in my life with his wisdom, of course, his sarcasm, and his ability to snap me out of my funk on several different occasions. So that was an article that he wrote maybe a month or so ago, and he posted on LinkedIn that is going to be the subject of what we're going to talk about tonight. And we're going to bring Mike on and let him elaborate more on the article. But for those of you who hadn't read it, I wanted to make sure I read it so you get the context. Mike had referenced in his article about Jocko Willink, and for those of you who don't know who Jocko Willink is, I highly recommend that you search this guy out and follow him, because he's an absolutely amazing individual. I've been listening to his podcast for probably 6 months now, and I'm not even halfway through. I think he's up to 150 podcasts, and each one of them are anywhere from 2 to 4 hours long. But some of the content that he covers and just some of his ideology on discipline and motivation are fantastic. I know Mike follows him. Mark Valeni is another guy that I know is a big follower of Jocko Willink, and but check him out. Jocko's he's a ex-Navy SEAL. He was a commander, ex-Navy SEAL commander with SEAL Team 1 and SEAL Team 2. He was in for 8 years, enlisted as a SEAL. Then went to OCS, got commissioned as an officer, and served as a platoon commander in SEAL Team 2. He's done multiple deployments, Asia, Middle East, and Europe. He's probably most notably recognized by his, he was in charge of Task Force Bruiser during the Battle of Ramadi in 2006 in Iraq, during Operation Enduring Freedom. And Task Unit Bruiser is a renowned task unit from that time in Operation Enduring Freedom. Everybody's heard of Chris Kyle, the American sniper. He actually was under Jocko during that time in Ramadi in 2006. Mark Allen Lee, Mikey Mansour, Johnny Kim, Kevin Lax, all those guys were killed during that deployment that served under Jocko. And then he finished out his career as a Navy SEAL instructor after 20 years of service, and retired in 2010. Now he and one of his other platoon commanders that reported to him, Leif Babin, have started a company called Echelon Front, and they offer management coaching to corporations to teach leadership based on what they learned being Navy SEALs over the course of their careers. And they are wildly famous for what they do, and they talk about that quite a bit. So I implore you to check out Jocko Willink. You can if you just go to Google and search Jocko Podcast, it'll take you right to the website. It's actually JockoPodcast.com. And just watch a couple of those podcasts and you'll get hooked. It's absolutely amazing, the stuff that these guys go through and talk about. So, that being said, I want to switch back to the subject of discipline and motivation. And I want to bring Mike on. See if I can do this without screwing this up. I was in it with some technical difficulty, but I'll see if I can do this. Hang on. Where is my bro? Mikey. Mike Lohman. Let's see if I can get him on here. There he is. Let's see if it works. I'm going to warn you right now before he gets on here, he's really ugly. But we won't hold that against him. He's not pretty like me. Mike. Says connecting. Connecting. So anyway, while we're waiting for Mike to show up, I have a question. Somebody please help me out. Any of you friends out there, any of my friends out there, any of you guys that are watching this that are cops, please explain this to me. What in the hell is the fascination with the blue and the red lights?
No.
What? Here's Mike. You there? Dude, you sound like you're in a tunnel. There he is.
All right. I was trying to
okay,
use
I'm touching on something. I'm touching on something here, so bear with me. So the question is,
I don't want to know what you're touching.
What in the hell is the fascination with the blue and red lights on a cop car? I swear to God. If you have 4 lanes of traffic, 2 going one way and 2 going the other way, and there's a median in between, and not a curb with some concrete on it, there's a football field between these two lanes going this way and these two lanes going this way. And there's a cop on the other side of the road with his lights on. Why the hell does everybody on this side of the road have to come to a screeching halt and look? Please explain that to me. And there's nothing there. And as soon as they get up there, it's like, oh, the lights. And then they look, and then traffic takes off. But you'll sit there for 25 minutes in traffic waiting. It may be one of life's unanswered questions, but if there's any law enforcement people that are watching this or friends of mine that see this, please answer this question for me because it's driving me freaking nuts. So anyway, as you can probably guess, my commute home was awesome today. Okay, enough about that. Welcome, Mike Lohman. I read your article, buddy, so the viewers can get a baseline of what we're going to talk about. And then I did a little precursor into who Jocko Willink is, because a lot of people don't know who he is or have heard of him, and he's the man. Yeah. Actually, I'm going to shut up now and let you talk. So tell us about the article. What inspired you to write it, and elaborate on it a little bit. All right, hold on. You're cutting in and out. You're going to have to stick your finger in the port of your phone and then hang some aluminum foil up. Okay.
My screen keeps freezing.
Yeah, let me try it. Okay, so Mike's gone. We're going to try and bring him back. Let's see if I can do that again. There we go. We're going to try and add Mike again. Okay, well, we're waiting for Mike to come back on. There he is. Let's see if that's any better. I always end up with technical difficulties on Facebook Live, but I don't want to do just an audio podcast. I like the interactivity of the video. So we're going back to, while we're waiting for Mike to come back on, looking at, going back to Jocko Willink. He's wrote several books. Probably the most famous one was on the top bestseller list. It's called Extreme Ownership. I've read that like 3 times. Follow-up to that book is called The Dichotomy of Leadership. It's a fantastic book. And what these guys do with Echelon Front is they do management training for big companies, Fortune 500 companies, but everything they talk about, they parallel, and the analogies they use is what they learned in combat, that you can apply to business life. And it's, it probably sounds pretty boring, but I'm telling you, I've read Extreme Ownership twice, and I just got Dichotomy of Leadership. I just finished it last week, so I'll be listening to that a couple more times. It's absolutely awesome. All right, Mike's jingle jacking around, so I'm gonna try and add him again. But there
Hello?
he is. Let's try it again, bro.
Wow.
There you go. All right, floor's yours, brother. I read the article. Yeah, I know. Usually it's on my end.
That's all right.
But yeah, I read the article, and tell me what you were thinking about when what inspired you to write the article, number one, and then elaborate a little bit more of the point that you were trying to get across. And
well, first, thanks for reading it. It was interesting to hear somebody else read that and do it sort of dramatically with the looks, periodically looking up from the page. So it's kind of cool, like for dramatic effect, right? I think I wrote it because I've been a lifelong just a believer in the power of discipline and the need for talked about Jocko, for a while. I think I just felt the need to put it together and put it out there and share it, with a wider audience. because in my mind, discipline has always trumped motivation, right?
Sure.
Discipline is what gets you out of bed in the dark, cold, black of the morning when most of the world is still asleep, right? Motivation
Right.
sets the alarm, but it doesn't get you up. Discipline gets you up, right?
That's right.
Another thing, I guess, motivation is maybe joining the gym, hiring a personal trainer or a coach, or going online and finding that program, right? That's motivation. Discipline is that iron-willed determination to stick to that program no matter what. You're tired, so what? Get up, go to the gym. You're sore, so what? Go to the gym. You're bored with this program, doesn't matter. Stick to it, right? That's discipline.
Exactly.
And I think motivation only gets you so far in that journey. You must have discipline. Motivation can fade, but if you've got that discipline, that skill, it'll stick with you, for life. So, and you, speaking of Wendler, you read my article. I'm going to read something from Wendler.
Absolutely right. Yeah. Well, I think that, and your point's dead on. And I was thinking about this a little bit last night. Um, we did our Wednesday training session at River City, and we hadn't done it in a while, but we did I think I told you about it before. We did the 30-minute deadlift challenge. So basically,
Every minute on the minute. Yep.
Two reps every minute on the minute for 30 minutes at 315. It wasn't a lot of weight, but it's one of those things that just gruels you. And we had done sandbag throws beforehand, and that was our finisher. And we got into it, and it's really, that was actually the most volume I'd done since I had my shoulder surgery. So it was kind of a test for me.
Yeah.
And we got about 10 minutes into it, and I kind of felt something funny in my knee. And I thought, yeah, maybe I should stop. No, keep going. So the next set, and it hurt a little bit more. And I thought, man, I really should stop. I'm like, no, I'll do one more. And then, the bar we were using just had a really deep knurl in it. It was tearing the hell out of my hands. It was tearing the hell out of Brandon's hands. And, it would have been easy to just say, let's just cut this off and stop because my knee hurts and, Brandon's getting his hand tore up. And no, let's just keep going.
Right.
And, by the 15-minute mark, the pain in my knee went away.
Yeah.
By the 20-minute mark, we're all sweating like dogs, and
sure,
the weight's still coming up, and I think it was about minute 20 is when Brandon's hand finally tore, and I thought, well, he's going to drop out. Nope.
Yep.
Rubbed some dirt on it and kept going.
Yeah.
And I got thinking about that last night because I knew you were coming on today for the podcast. I thought, and that's a kind of a minuscule representation of discipline, but
yep,
it would have been so easy to stop, and it would have been so easy to just say, hey, my knee isn't feeling right, I'm going to drop out. Brandon could have said, hey, I just tore a callus on my hand, I'm going to go ahead and stop. And wouldn't really probably have been a big deal, but we did.
Yeah.
it was just you grit it and you bite it and you go, and
Sure.
we'll stop when we're done, right? And like I said, that's a small slice of the greater picture you're trying to explain as far as discipline goes. But it's those type of things that there's so many things in life that people think are just major roadblocks that are just speed bumps. Man, roll over it and rock on. So
Right.
anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Continue. Well, no, it's fine. I mean, another example was today. I was doing I'm sorry, not today, yesterday, doing my bulldozer, squat protocol, right? And I got through my 25 reps and I damn near passed out and I laid down. My training partner, walks up. He's like, "You all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Well, then he squatted today and he was doing 405 for a 5x5, which wasn't as much weight as I had on. There was a little bit less than that. But he did his second set and he's like, "God, I'm just thinking about like you and those 25 reps yesterday." Like,
It's mental.
how
That's right.
bad it hurts, right? And that's why I have just all the respect in the world for guys like you and Jim and Jocko and every other friend of mine who served. You had that imposed on you, right, by your sergeant or whoever. But listen, it stuck. It took root, and now that's how you live your life for the most part. And maybe that's not everybody, right?
No,
But that discipline, Navy SEALs and Army Rangers and you name it, like they're not going to be successful. They're going to be dead if they're not disciplined, right? And that's how they weed those guys out, right? In the Buds program or whatever it is, for Army and every other branch of the military.
Right.
But
no, it's absolutely right.
I guess the important thing too to keep in mind is that we all have choices to make every day, right? And you need to choose to be disciplined because it is a choice. It comes from within you. I mean, maybe it came from somebody yelling at you, but it's that. I lost train of thought. Sorry. No, sorry, lost train of thought.
Well, you better snap it up, dude, because Matt's watching now. So.
Oh shit! All right, all right. Well, let's talk for a second about Jocko's book because that was again, one of the main reasons I wrote that piece. He talks about fear of failure in the book. Have you read that book, by the way, or no?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever been afraid to fail, Lee, in your life?
Absolutely.
Me too, right? The thing I'm most afraid about every day is being average and being mediocre. I'm not going to settle for that, right?
That's right.
But here's the thing. Why are we afraid, right? What are you afraid of? I think I still experience that fear in a lot of ways, but I've learned to ask myself, why are you afraid? What are you afraid of? Failures are lessons. We're all going to make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. Ask my wife. The important thing is to learn from those mistakes.
That's right.
And use failure to improve yourself and get better. So don't be afraid of it. Embrace it, right? Because let failure be your teacher. Fear is a natural human emotion, and we're all going to have it at some point. But I think how you
Yep. All right, we lost Mike. I'm going to have to bring him back. Anyway, while I'm doing that for the fourth time today, one thing that you got that Mike was starting to touch on, and it's in the book, Discipline Equals Freedom, from that Jocko wrote, and the analogy that Mike was talking about as far as fear, it's always, fear is a part of life. Everybody gets afraid of something at some point. But oddly enough, okay, Mike, I'm looking to connect you, but I don't see you on the thing. But another person that actually is another guy I listen to quite a bit, Rob O'Neill. He's actually the guy that killed Osama bin Laden. He was in SEAL Team 6. He does several seminars and presentations. One of the things he said during one of his seminars was about fear. Fear is an emotion, but fear is good because fear heightens your senses. And the example that he used was, hold on, Mike, I'm trying to bring you back on here. But the example that he uses is he says, think about sitting down watching a scary movie. You're sitting there by yourself watching a scary movie, and how heightened your senses are. And then, like, the ice maker clacks off, right? You're like, Satan, all your senses are heightened when you're afraid. And like Mike said, it's a matter of taking fear and embracing it. And I guess for the people on here that we're talking about, where most of us are athletes or strongman competitors, it's that fear. Am I going to be able to hit my next PR? I mean, getting under a 300-pound log and pressing it for the first time, not knowing whether or not you're going to get it or not, and that fear and that focus, you have to turn that into a driver, and you're absolutely right, Mike. Fear is a choice, and it's how you choose to react to fear is determines how you're going to progress or regress. So, and fear isn't. That was another thing that Rob said, and you guys have probably seen this on several memes and stuff. But courage isn't the absence of fear; it's acknowledging the fear and doing it anyway. So that's something to think about when you're talking about fear. Yeah, Mike, I see your name in the list, but it's not letting me add you for some reason. So, paralleling the discipline into training, into life, and like Mike said in his article, it's a matter of what you can pull out of yourself. And it's difficult. It's very difficult. I should be the first one to tell you. And even the past, month or two with all the stuff I've had going on in my life, discipline is tough. It's because life gets in the way. Things happen. Tragedies happen. Things you don't expect that can throw a curveball into your life happen. But to maintain that discipline through it is, the ultimate strength. It's not easy. It is not easy to do. But like I was saying when we were training last night, it would have been so easy. And I thought about it a lot today. It would have been so easy to quit last night and just say, yeah, it's enough. I kind of really don't feel good and don't really want to push it. And it was, I'm kind of recovering from an injury, and I could find 20 excuses why it would have been acceptable to quit, and nobody would have said a damn word about me quitting, but I would have known that I quit, right? And it's just, that it's almost like that, the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other from Animal House, where one's telling you, oh, you should quit, don't push it, you're not
Yeah,
young
but you're not a
anymore,
Nancy boy.
you don't want to blow out your knee, blah, blah, and then, and there's the devil on the other side, and just go, So it's that balance, and it's so easy to quit. It's easy to quit. It is easier to quit. That's the path. That's what
that's the hack. That's the easy road out. It's easy. It's not easy. It's not easy. You got to take the hard road. You got to take the path less traveled if you're gonna succeed. I mean, if you're gonna get to that next goal, get to that next level. Okay, Mike's back.
So
right, continue,
I heard pretty much everything you just said. And for anybody who's been with us the whole time and heard what I was saying, you know, that positive mental attitude approach, right? Some people might listen to that. They hear you say that. They hear me say that. They read it in the book. And they think, yeah, okay, whatever, you know, Mr. Positive Attitude, easier said than done, right? And you know what? It is. It is easy to say it, and it's hard to do. Life is hard. Sorry, news flash, right? But I guess for me, what would I rather do? Sit there and dwell in self-pity and sorrow and let the negativity and that pile of shit just, you know, rise up? No, I'm just, a positive attitude is not going to solve my problems or the world's problems, but it's just, for me, it's a better way to go. You got to dig deep sometimes, stay confident, and be positive, even as you're trying to wade your way out of that pile of shit. You know, as you said, you can only control yourself, your words, your actions, your reactions, and quite honestly, your thoughts. What are you thinking?
That's right. Right. Yeah, and you're right. Yeah, we lost Mike again. Um, I'm going to parallel into kind of the point that Mark was getting onto, um, or that Mike was getting onto. You know, starting small. It's the little things. You know, one thing at a time, and it can be anything. It can be, I'm just going to get up at the same time every day for a week. Right? I'm going to commit it. It's a small goal. Should be easily achievable. I'm just going to get up at the same time every day. It doesn't need to be 4 o'clock in the morning. Say it's 6 o'clock. I'm going to get up at 6 o'clock every day. I'm going to set my alarm when it goes off. I'm not going to hit the snooze. I'm going to get up regardless. I'm going to commit myself to that goal for 1 week, right? For 7 days. Um, you know, when that had, um, if you can start with that, then that just builds. If you can do that, and you can build upon that and build upon that and build upon that. I'm going to try to bring Mike back on. He's got one more point he wants to make. But, you know, getting to that discipline. Go ahead, Mike.
I mean, this is ridiculous, man. I don't know what's going on. Sorry. So
what are you
back to
doing?
Wendler's thing.
Dude,
I
what are
don't
you
know.
doing?
Sorry to interrupt. But, you know, Wendler's thing about starting small. He says every day you'll wake up, just make a list of 3 things you want to accomplish that day. 3 things you know you're probably going to do. So 1, go to the gym. 2, pay my bills. 3, schedule the repairman for my dishwasher. You do those 3 things, great. And those things are really simple, so they seem. Yeah, but you start to do this daily, and you check those boxes off, and after a while, it becomes just ingrained in you. It's habit. So when that becomes habit, and you start to strengthen that self-discipline, then you start adding more and more challenging ones, and that's how that discipline takes root.
Right.
You know, but it's the whole starting small. Don't bite off more than you can chew. You go big, you're bound to probably, you know, get demotivated, and you're going to lose track. You're going to fail. So just, you know, start small, little by little,
That's right.
and then you'll get there. And the last thing I'm going to say, and then I'm going to shut up unless you got questions for me because I don't want to keep cutting out. You know, people say to me, okay, I want to get stronger. I'm like, okay, good. Get stronger. You know, oh, you know, I want to get, I want to lose weight. Okay, good. Then lose weight. Well, how do I do it? Just start. Do it. You know, find a plan, make a plan, hire a coach, go to the gym, do what you got to do. Like, you want to do it, then make it happen. I can't do it for you. You, Lee, can't do it for them. It comes from within here. So just do it.
Yeah, if you remember from the book, Discipline Equals Freedom. If you remember that part, I think it was in one of the early chapters. But he talked about procrastination, right?
Yeah.
When should I start? Yeah, when should I start my training protocol and where should I how should I do that, right? And his answer was simple: you start it right here and you start it right now. And it's so simple. The concept is so simple, but it has absolutely got to be one of the most difficult things that people are able to implement, myself included.
Yeah.
It's tough to make that step, make that commitment. Like I was saying before, when life gets in the way, there's so many things that are distractions in your life that can steer you off the path, that are legitimate things that should steer you off the path. But it's that ability to recorrect and get back on.
Yeah.
That takes that discipline. And, one of the things that, and I don't like to bring it up that much, but, just recently for me, when my mom passed, it was by far the hardest thing I've ever had to go through in my life. But, and I talked to you quite a bit during that period. And, I was slipping into such a dark place.
Yeah.
That, and everybody was so supportive. You were, my family was, my brothers, my sisters, my extended family, my Strongman family, everybody was so supportive that, they're like, yeah, I understand, and take your time. It's going to take time, and it's never going to go away. And I just started slipping into this dark place that I knew that I was the only one that was going to bring me out of it.
Well, I mean, because you had the choice to make. You could go buy a couple cases of beer and drink yourself into a stupor, or you could, again, dig deep, find that strength and pull yourself up. Get yourself to the gym, even if you're going through the motions, right?
That's
right.
Go
to that place that's your true north that makes you feel right, even if you're just getting a little bit sweaty and a little bit of,
Yep. That's right. No. And that, and I had to come to that hard realization that
I wore this shirt for you. Just for you, buddy.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, but back on that point, it was, I knew that I was the only one who was going to bring me out of it. Nobody questioned why I was the way I was, which I didn't expect them to, but
yeah,
I knew at the point that I was slipping that if I didn't do something to change this, it was going to be bad. So
sure,
I had to consciously make that decision to bring myself out.
Yeah.
And
you see Shane's question?
Yeah, dude. Great question. Shane's asking questions, discussing fear. How do you both overcome the fear of re-injury? And I've had more than enough injuries in this sport, but and it's funny because I think about it, of all the football, track, wrestling in high school, when I was in the military, when I played football and I wrestled, I've had more injuries in the 6 years I've been in Strongman. I had my entire sports history prior to that. But it's the nature of the beast. But it was Vaccio that probably is the one that inspired me the most, because he and I, he had torn a rotator, almost a year before I did, or 8 months before I did, and I was kind of following his lead. But I remember when he posted the video the first time he did a 225 axle, cleaned it and pressed it.
and how scared he was, because that's how he injured it. And that's how I injured my shoulder, is, overcoming that fear to pull that axle. And he posted a video, and the first one, you could see his apprehension, like, God, I don't want to do this.
Yep.
You know,
I remember.
He was so scared of doing it. And I had tears in my eyes. I was scared for him, because I understand that feeling. But it's that powering through it and being smart about, I guess, to answer your question, Shane, you know, for me, it's, you know, I did a 225 axle 3 weeks ago, and I was scared to death. But it was one of those things where I had to make a decision that it's either going to work or it's not. You know, I had done a 135 clean enough times. I'd gone up to 185, and I thought, you know, sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and say it's either going to work or it's not. You know.
Well, and I think you just hit the nail on the head. You started with 135, worked up to 185, and I was the same way when I tore my bicep.
Yeah, and
like
Bocce did the same thing, but
I tore it on a 260 axle, right? And so for a year, I was terrified to, you know, do an axle press. And when I started doing an axle press again, it was just little by little, right? Those small things, right? So you start with 95 pounds. Yep. You work up to 135 and then 185. And the closer you get, I mean, the fear doesn't go away, but then like you just said, you power through it. You're like, okay, you know what? Today's the day. Because as you're working up towards that, those little baby steps of those lighter weights, as long as you're not feeling any pain or discomfort, okay,
right,
push it
and that's
a little bit, right?
And that's even tough too, because, you know, it's like I was talking about last night when I was deadlifting. I started to feel something in my knee, and I thought, man, I shouldn't push this, you know. And then I thought, okay, yeah, it's a little twinge. I got a little bit of pain in my knee. I'm going to go to the next set and see how it feels. And it was kind of the same, but it's a crapshoot, dude. I mean,
but it was your knee and not your hamstring or your lower back. Right. So when you're pulling and it's your knee, it's like, my knee.
Yeah, but I mean, but I think about that with the axle clean too, you know, that fear of, you know, because the first time I cleaned a 135 axle and I cleaned it and I got it to here, I'm like, my shoulder didn't feel right. My shoulder still doesn't feel right, but it didn't hurt, right? It's like, that's different. Something's off. And my first inclination is okay, I'm done, right? But no, do it again. And I did it again. Do I feel it the same way, right? It's that constant analysis of how much farther do I go, right? And that progression.
But in keeping with the theme of this whole conversation, you know, what Shane's question about, you know, how do you deal with the fear of injury? You just do it.
Yeah. I mean, you just got to cross that bridge, man. You just got to, you got to take a shot of bourbon and just go. I mean, we're all living on the edge anyway, doing the stupid shit that we're doing in Strongman anyway. I mean, at some point, you just got to live on the edge. I mean,
and it is easier said than done. But I think if you're smart about it, you take those small steps, you work up slow. And then when you get to that point where you're like, I'm pretty close to where I was, just pull the ripcord, man.
You know, it's funny because when you said that, it kind of brought me back to that same thing with the axle. And after watching Vaccio's video, you know, and he inspired me to it's like, you know, it's possible. And I understood his fear. And when I finally decided, okay, I'm going to do this 220 axle, and I made sure I was warm and, you know, that I wasn't doing anything cold and, you know, doing things the smart way, doing things the right way. And I thought, you know, I went to 185, felt okay, still get that little thing in my, I thought it's time to go. But right before I grabbed that bar to clean 225, the last thought that went through my head was, what's the worst that's going to happen? I'm going to have surgery again, or I'm going to be out for another 8 weeks. I've been out for freaking 3 months now as it is. What's another 8 weeks? I've got to get past this. If I stop, I'm never going to get past this. I have to do it. And I did. You know, but I was rolling the dice. I could have just as easily gotten it to here and tore my damn rotator again and been right back to square one.
But I think to Shane's point, and Shane, if you're still watching, you know, feel free to chime in the comments. You know, Shane's had like one thing after another.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's been this string of injury after injury.
Right.
And, I mean, again, dude, I'm almost 50. Like, something always hurts, right? But it's like, are you hurt or are you injured, right?
That's right.
Like, my elbow, That's an injury. It's an injury that I can't seem to quite shake and get to heal.
Right.
But like, does my knee hurt? Yeah, sometimes. My back hurt? Yeah, sometimes. Little aches and pains is part of the game. But when you have that string of injuries that are back to back to back to back, I get it. You're afraid of making something really worse or like injuring yourself so badly that you're done. You just you're out for good.
And you talk about discipline, and the only reason I thought about it because I just saw you joined. Look at Jim Morris. I mean,
yeah,
that should have been for any normal person. That would have been a career-ending injury for him. He had a broken.
You mean the Wolverine?
He competed at 2016 Nationals with me with a broken back, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah,
and had a spinal. He's basically got a titanium cage in his back holding his lower back together. And a year later, he competes at official Strongman games and ended up in the top 10. That's discipline,
Yeah.
And, you touched on it before, and I will not deny it and I've never denied it, but, the training that I got in the military, I say does give me an advantage from a discipline standpoint because it's drilled into you. And I'm sure that it's drilled into Jim, and, it's something that will be with me the rest of my life.
Sure.
That has kind of made me who I am, part of who I am. And, I go back to that quite a bit, but I mean, Jim's a perfect example,
Yeah.
He should have been done. He should have been, that's it. I'm done. Wheelchair, whatever, walker, cane. And, no, he came back bigger and stronger than ever. It's just unbelievable. That's discipline right there. That is discipline.
Yep.
Because if anybody had an excuse to stop and to quit, he did.
Right.
So anyway, Jim, I'm blushing my ass.
We've probably talked a lot longer than we should have already.
Yeah, it's okay, but it's a great subject, and that's why I wanted to, get you back on here and talk about it, because it's something that I think is important enough that everybody can get something from, and I
think especially for somebody who's younger and newer to the sport, and they want that instant gratification, they want that instant success. It's not going to happen, right? It's like these guys who hop from program to program. You got to give a program 12 to 16 weeks.
Yep.
Don't think in a month you're going to see major improvement or massive, gains.
No,
you're not.
No,
you're not.
There's no magic pill. There's no hack. There's no, you just got to put in the work. You got to put in the work, and, I'll even say it, even the guys that are on the juice taking steroids. Okay, sure. Is it a competitive advantage? Sure it is. But guess what? They still got to put in the work to get the advantage out of it. You still got to go to the gym. You still got to do the work to get the gain, right? So,
like you, I didn't start in Strongman until I was a master's athlete. I started when I was 42, and it took me 6 years to win my first comp.
Right.
6.
Right.
So I didn't quit, but it's like I knew it was going to take a while. It was going to happen eventually.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's finding that inner fire. And it's at the moment of truth. And I mentioned this back a couple podcasts back, but going back to the 2016 Nationals, and it was the first Nationals that I competed in. But when I got there and my training leading up to it, but when I physically got down to 4th Street Live, and the first event was log press, what hit me and what I said to myself before we got out there and before they blew the whistle before the first event, and I said it every single event that I did, is there's nothing bigger than this for you.
Yeah.
This is the Super Bowl right here. So there's no breaks. There's no stopping, because everybody does it in training. I do it, for Christ's sakes. You start doing something. I'm going to take an extra breath here for a second. No, when you're under the whistle and you're at Nationals, you go until the whistle blows. Right. And that takes discipline, even when you're training, right? To give it that 100%. Everybody says, I give it 120%. You 100% is as high as you go.
Yep.
When you're pressing, log press, clean and press for reps 60 seconds, and you're pushing that last one up and you start seeing the lights go out, you're pushing 100%. But until you're there, and you watch the guys that are the top end of in their classes in Strongman, you watch them when the whistle finally blows, when that minute is done, you just watch them collapse. They put it out there, right?
Yep.
That takes discipline.
There's no such thing as giving extra. You either give your all
That's
or
right.
you're not giving it all.
That's right. That's right. Hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what I was trying to say. It's, you either give it all or you don't, and everybody's seen it in Strongman where, 0.2 of a second, I've watched guys lose their pro card over 0.2 of a second.
Yep.
It's just that critical. So even Amber, good point. She goes, even when you know you're going to zero, you never stop. I can't remember how many times I've done that. It's like, I'm going to give this everything I've got in the attempts to try to get at least one rep.
Yep.
But yeah, good stuff, man. You got anything else you want to cover?
The only thing I want to say is that for anybody who's watching, if you're in the Chicago area and you want to come train Strongman, we're there on Saturdays and Sundays. Jacked Hardcore Gym in Montgomery, Illinois.
Awesome.
Come on out.
Awesome.
Good to see you. Good to talk to you.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, everybody who tuned in. We'll talk soon.
All right, man. See ya.
Love you, man. See ya.
Love you, too. All right. See you. Next time, we're going to have the man, Mr. Shane Rickman from Strength Depot is going to come on. We're going to be interrogating him about what he knows about Motor City's Strongest Man, because I've been trying to get him to squeak some details, and he's just fluffing me, so he's going to say something. We're going to force it out of him. Talk to Shane about his awesome work that he does with Relentless. It's something that I don't think gets enough exposure. But Shane and his group at Strength Depot do so many great things for the Relentless community. I want him to get a chance to talk about that. So we're going to have him on next week. So in closing, thanks for listening. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and hopefully the content is helpful for the average strongman. I don't think anybody's average, but it's all a matter of what you bring out from within. So like I said, next time we're going to bring Shane on, interrogate him for a while. If you want to check out the website for our home gym, River City Barbell in Dayton, Kentucky, you can go to www.rivercitybarbell.com and check that out. They've got a bench-only competition coming up at the Arnold next year that they are sponsoring. It's posted on their website. Go in there and check that out on our upcoming events. If you want to get a hold of me, you can catch me on here on Facebook. You can email me direct at kentuckypunk@gmail.com. Or you can find me on Instagram at Kentucky Strongman. If you got any specific questions about this podcast, previous podcast, you got ideas for future podcasts, the things you'd like to see us discuss, just get a hold of me and we'll bring it on. That's why I'm doing this. What we're here for is to bring the knowledge and expand it and share lessons learned that we've all learned as competitors and share it with everybody else. And especially for those that are looking to get into the sport, the whole point is to try to grow the sport. And it's such a great community of people that we all want to contribute, and that's the base of this podcast, is to spread the knowledge, spread the wealth, and have a little fun while we're doing it. So again, thanks for watching. I'll post I'll get this downloaded and get them uploaded to YouTube. I'm a little behind. I got them downloaded. I just got to upload them to YouTube. But if you go to YouTube and search Lee Woody, you'll find my channel on there, and episodes 1 through 7 are on YouTube, and I'll have them up through 12 probably before the end of the weekend. So if you missed any, you want to go back and watch them, go ahead and do that. But until then, stay strong, my friends.